Before you've finished reading the sentence, a stranger's brain has already decided whether to trust you. Not after a conversation, not after getting to know you. In a tenth of a second. Less time than it takes to blink twice. And here's the unsettling part. The people who are best at manipulating other people already know this. They're not trying to convince you with a good argument. By the time the argument would even start, the decision's already made. In 2006, two researchers at Princeton, Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov, ran an experiment to find out exactly how fast a first impression actually forms. They showed people photos of unfamiliar faces for just 100 milliseconds, a flash, barely long enough to register consciously. Then asked them to rate that face on trustworthiness, competence, likability, a handful of traits. Then they showed a second group the exact same photos, with no time limit at all. Let them stare as long as they wanted. The two sets of ratings, nearly identical. 1/10 of a second was enough, giving people more time, half a second, a full second, as long as they wanted. Didn't make the judgment more accurate. It just made people more confident in the exact same snap decision they'd already made. Think about what that actually means. Every let's get to know each other first conversation you've ever had. Every slow-building sense that someone seems trustworthy. A huge part of that feeling wasn't building at all. It was already there, formed in the first instant you saw their face. And everything after that was just your brain gathering evidence to justify a verdict it had already reached. So here's the real question. If the verdict comes in that fast, what part of your brain is actually making it? Todorov's follow-up research found something genuinely strange. The judgment isn't coming from the rational, analytical part of your brain, the part that weighs evidence and reasons things through. It's tied to the amygdala, a small, ancient structure buried deep in the brain, the same one responsible for raw fear responses. Long before humans had a prefrontal cortex capable of reasoned judgment, we already had a structure built for one job, quickly deciding whether the thing in front of us was safe or a threat. Trust, in other words, isn't the sophisticated judgment it feels like. It's a threat detection reflex, dressed up in a more flattering name, a high-level decision made by one of the oldest, most primitive parts of your brain. Which raises the question this video is really about. If someone understood exactly which signals that primitive system is scanning for, could they fake being trustworthy on purpose? They can. And the people who make a living deceiving others have effectively reverse-engineered this system, whether or not they could ever name the neuroscience behind it. Confidence men throughout history, from small-time grifters to someone like Frank Abagnale, who famously talked his way into impersonating a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer, all before the age of 21, share one trait that matters far more than cleverness. They aren't primarily persuasive with words. They're precise with the handful of signals your amygdala is already scanning for in that first instant. Open, relaxed posture, steady eye contact, not too intense, warmth in the tone of voice, arriving immediately, without the usual hesitation of a real stranger sizing you up. A genuine new acquaintance often shows some natural friction at first, a beat of caution, a little awkwardness. Someone deliberately engineering trust skips that friction entirely, and most people don't register the absence of hesitation as suspicious. They register it as ease, as chemistry, as instantly liking this person for reasons they couldn't quite explain. Here's where it compounds. There's a well-documented effect in psychology sometimes called the chameleon effect. Research from the late 1990s found that when one person subtly mimics another's posture, gestures, and mannerisms, the person being mimicked reports liking them more, without ever consciously noticing the mimicry happened at all. So the sequence goes like this. First, control the split-second facial and postural signals that trip your amygdala into an early, safe verdict. Second, mirror your body language just enough to trigger unconscious liking, with zero awareness on your part that it's happening. By the time an actual conversation starts, your conscious, reasoning brain isn't evaluating this person with a blank slate. It's been handed a verdict already, and its only job left is to find reasons to agree with it. This is confirmation bias again, the same mechanism from a few videos back, except this time, someone else has deliberately fed the first decisive piece of evidence your brain built everything else on top of. So, how do you defend against a decision your brain makes before you're even consciously aware of it? You can't outrun the 10th of a second verdict. Nobody can consciously slow down their own amygdala. But you can get suspicious of a specific pattern instead of trying to outthink the instant itself. Watch for trust that arrives unusually fast and complete, with none of the normal friction a new relationship should have. Real trust is typically built slowly, through consistency, over repeated small tests. If someone feels instantly, remarkably easy to trust, no hesitation, no friction, warmth from the very first exchange, that speed is not necessarily a compliment to your chemistry. It's occasionally the fingerprint of someone who knows exactly which switch they just flipped. The uncomfortable truth is this: the feeling of, I just know I can trust this person, was never proof of anything. It's a 10th of a second reflex, run by a part of your brain older than language itself, and it can be triggered on purpose by anyone who's learned which buttons it responds to. And that same instinct, trusting something because it feels certain, rather than because you've actually verified it, shows up again in a completely different place, in the quiet, internal certainty that makes people wreck their own progress, right when things are finally about to go well. That's next. If this changed the way you see the world, the next video on your screen will change the way you see yourself. Click it now. And if you're fascinated by the psychology behind everyday life, subscribe, because we're just getting started.